Hello, this is AstrologyNewsReport.com with your hosts, David Anton Savage and Ron Berger.
Now we go to our third segment of this week's report, People in the News, where we will analyze the Vedic astrology birth chart of a newsworthy person, place, or event.
And this week we've decided to analyze the birth chart of the basketball star Dennis Rodman. Certainly and literally one of the most colorful characters in sports history, whose ongoing friendship with the North Korean dictator Kim Jung Un is a real head-scratcher.
Yeah, well, we are happy to say that there is reliable birth information out there for Mr. Rodman. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey on May 13th, 1961, at 10 minutes past midnight.
Dennis Rodman is a Sagittarius rising person. Such people are quite fond of the truth as they see it and tend towards conflict if anyone else tries to convince them otherwise. And if you saw that recent video of Rodman being questioned about his latest trip to North Korea by a reporter from CNN, you have an example, albeit a bizarre and rambling one at that.
Okay, also, his rising nakshatra is Purva Ashada, a lunar sign that loves calling attention to itself, loves putting on a show. Its nickname is the Unsubdued. Does that sound like Dennis Rodman?
Well, he put out that book called Bad as I Want to Be, so there you have it.
Right. All right, his first house ruler, Jupiter, is in the second house of speech and conjunct Saturn. So Jupiter is the planet of increase, and in the second house of speech it makes one talkative to the point of bloviating. And here it is getting the direct aspect of combative Mars across the chart in the 8th house, and associated with Jupiter is powerful Saturn, the planet of endurance. So not only is he outspoken, it's also hard for him, although not impossible, to back down from his statements and beliefs.
But I have to say, Ron, that powerful Saturn, conjunct the ruler of the chart, still acts like Saturn, and then some. The second house is childhood as well as speech, and the history of his early life is marked through and through with delay, a quintessential Saturnian energy pattern. He did receive his fame and fortune, but he had to wait. Even his athletic prowess took time to reveal itself.
You are referring to an all-important principle taught to me by my astrology guru Narendra Desai, that planets may get modified in various ways, but they do not lose their essential nature. On to some other features of Mr. Rodman's chart. What do you make of that Moon-Sun conjunction in his 5th house?
Well, the 5th house is the house of games, and that includes sports. And the sun is exalted in this sign. Since the sun is a significator of vitality, having it exalted in the 5th house of games can really give you an edge on the playing field, and in his case, a basketball court. And here it is with the moon, significator of the public. And then when you take a look at where the ruler of the 5th ends up in this chart, it gives things a bit of a twist.
Yeah, the 5th house lord, which is Mars, also known as the planet of action, is placed in the 8th house of transformations, which is also the house of occult, unusual activities, and scandal and humiliation. And certainly his 5th house sports activities have had an unusual edge to them, causing a great deal of controversy.
And by the way, his nickname in the NBA was The Worm, due to his unusual ability to move around and work his way through opponents on the basketball court.
Yeah, it's also useful to look at the condition of his 3rd house. Here we find Ketu, the significator of inherited past life talents and abilities, in Aquarius in the 3rd house of skills, talents, and prowess. Since the ruler of Aquarius, Saturn, is powerful in the other sign that it owns, this gives Rodman some exceptional abilities. Okay, so let's take a look at what is going on in his chart currently, which would shed some light on his recent activities.
Back in 2011, Rodman entered the Saturn sub-period of his Rahu major period. Note that his natal Rahu is in his 9th house, the house of long-distance travel. Rahu in the 9th house of beliefs gives him beliefs that are foreign or unorthodox.
And his Saturn sub-period turns on his third house of desires and self-efforts, with Saturn also conjunct his natal Jupiter in his second house of speaking and values.
Rodman first visited North Korea in February of 2013. Rodman's efforts towards basketball diplomacy with North Korea, the last Stalinist police state on Earth, are not being understood, not being accepted, not being well received here in his home country.
And one good reason for this is that Neptune, the planet of illusions and delusions, has been transiting in the sub-period ruler Saturn sign, and right on top of his natal Ketu, and directly opposite his major period ruler Rahu, and all this for the past year. So Neptune's been giving some influence, and this would give him some strange ideas and prompt unusual idealistic efforts as well.
And let's point out the fact that Neptune is the utopian planet. And whatever criticism you want to make about what he's doing, it's clear he earnestly believes that his actions are for a good cause.
Yeah, it's true that nobody else seems to be reaching out to this isolated country and its wacko leader.
Yeah, people have argued keeping them isolated is probably a really negative thing. But it's also interesting that he is now, in February 2014, about to enter his Mercury subperiod, and Mercury is a key planet for Sagittarius rising people. It's the ruler of the 7th and the 10th house, and for him it's in the 6th house.
Yeah, and that would be partnerships, the 7th house, and actions in the world, the 10th house. And this all manifesting through Mercury's natal placement, which is in the 6th house of struggle and difficulties.
So this doesn't sound like it gets any better for Mr. Rodman. More problems and controversy coming up soon.
Oh yes, I'm sure we will be seeing and hearing more of Mr. Rodman in the near future.
Which will keep him in our sights as we follow his quixotic quest and unusual relationship with one of the most unusual leaders in Asia.